Welcome to CBTV.
Part 2. Describe a piece of good advice that you gave to someone. You should say who you gave this advice to whom you gave the advice, what the advice was, and explain why you gave the advice. So there was this one time I remember when I gave a piece of advice to one of my IELTS students. She was super stressed about the speaking part of the IELTS exam. She was really beating herself up over it, I could tell she was on the edge every time a topic came up. One day after class, she came up to me, looking all worried, and asked for some tips. She was like, I just freeze up. I don't know what to say, and I'm afraid I'll totally bomb the exam. So I told her that's not about speaking perfectly, it's about communicating effectively. I explained to her that the IELTS examiners aren't looking for robotic perfection, but rather for clear communication and the ability to convey ideas in English. I suggested she practice speaking about everyday topic with friends or even record herself speaking, just to get more comfortable with the language. I gave her this advice because I've seen a lot of students get so caught up in the idea of speaking perfect English that they forget to just communicate. After our chat, she started to loosen up a bit. She took my advice and began practicing in a more relaxed, natural way. I often see her chatting with classmates in English, and sometimes she had even shared recordings in our group chat and asking for feedback. And you know what? It's paid off. On the day of her exam, she was way more relaxed and confident. Later, she told me that shifting her focus from perfection to communication that's really helped ease her nerves. She ended up scoring really well in the speaking part, which was fantastic. Part 3. 1. Do you think parents should give their children advice? Absolutely. Take, for instance, something as simple as advising on good manners or how to treat others. It's basic, but it lays the foundation for how those kids grow up and interact with the world. 2. Should teachers give students advice? For sure, teachers aren't just there to feed facts and figures. They can be a good source of advice in areas such as studying and career orientation. For example, a lot of high school students in Vietnam often ask their teachers for advice when it comes to which major they should choose and which university they should apply for after graduation. 3. Do you think it's necessary for us to listen to friends' advice? Yeah, I think so. Friends often got your back, so they tend to have your best interests at heart. And they tend to understand what you are going through better than adults like teachers and parents. But you gotta sift through their advice because they might also be struggling with the same problems as you. 4. How to give young advice and old people advice. Treading slightly key here. With young people, it's more about helping them see the big picture without coming off as preachy. And for the older crowd, respect is key. It's more about sharing experiences rather than telling them what to do. After all, they are older than you and most of them think they've got more experience than you do. So telling them to do this or that or the other is a big no-no for sure. 5. What are the areas in which people are more or less willing to accept advice? Generally, people are open to advice in stuff like career guidance or travel tips. It's like, hey, you've been there, then that, so lay it on me. But get into personal stuff like relationships or lifestyle choices, and people tend to easily feel offended. 6. Have you ever received any advice from professional people like doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher? Oh, lots of times in fact. Like when I was thinking about becoming a teacher, I sat down with my old professor. His advice was kind of a roadmap for me. Like I needed to get this qualification and work for this number of years before I could start a business on my own. And don't get me started on doctor. Every time I pop in for a checkup, I come out with a list of do and don't to be healthier.